Do you remember last week the show was recorded in the rain and gradually my notes just became paper mache in front of my very eyes? Well, we've got rain on the way, but I'm hoping to get this walk in. I've got a few problems with my focusing on my X100. Oh, that's not very good. Let me get a sketchbook photograph of the tree just in front of me. I love all the different colours. It's a very dank kind of day today, but that does bring the greens out when you make photographs of trees and foliage. So small victories, huh? Every cloud and so on.
I did get incredibly lucky, actually, I think, and I am going to call it luck. I'd done about 45 portraits before anybody had actually said no. So when it actually happened, because I've got no confidence in this kind of thing. I was expecting to sort of try 5 times, get 5 refusals, and that'll be it for me. It would have been all over. Done. Project was doomed. That was the end of that idea, kind of thing. But people just kept saying yes, which was lovely.
That's a voice from a name you may or may not know, but after today's show, I hope you'll consider him one of our podcast friends. Tim Allen is his name. And the fact, as he says, people just kept saying yes, is why he's now kickstarted a book project that's completely changed the way he thinks about himself, I think it's fair to say, as a photographer. We've got a street week, really, this week. 2 guests who love to work with what's gifted them photographically in an urban sense, or in an urban setting. Valérie Jardin is here for our monthly Teach Me Street feature. And then there's Tim Allen, who's had a stop-start in the offing project, if there is such a thing, for, anywhere between 3 and 10 years, which will make more sense when you hear our chat in a short while. Tim, like a few people we've spoken to on this show who make portraits on the street, has a personal family story that brought him to where he is now. And a dad to blame, in some respects. Not because Dad had a hobby or job as a photographer, but because his dad had this wonderful skill at just being able to talk to people in the street. So it's an alternative kind of inspiration in that respect. It's a story about people. It's a story today about a place, a story about moving your life to do what you love in a place that you love. But there's a good few bits in the middle too. Shan't say more, otherwise I'll give it all away. I know actually, that you'll love meeting Tim today. Before we start though, for those who listen right to the very, very, very end of the show each week, you'll know that we have a postscript, some encouraging words, often to do with what our guest has spoken about, of course, but what I'm about to read could well have been the PS today, the postscript to the show at the end, but I thought this could be an excellent starting point instead, because it says everything about what we do when we make our walks each week on this, I think very different style of photography podcast. It came from Michael Mixon, Sir Michael of Mixonville, via the show's Substack, which gets a few mentions today. He said, I think this fits nicely into the ethos of the show, Neil. And it was an introduction to something called the noticing walk, which I bet you've heard of before. I know you probably have. But for me, as Michael thought, it was new. Yes, it was. And it's completely up my cul-de-sac, if you'll pardon the phrase. These are the words that he forwarded. Oh, look at that mud, pups. Hang on, Michael. Do we need the emergency services? Stand by. Let me do the words he forwarded, then I'll try and get through this mud. The noticing walk. Go outside and take a 10-minute walk with one mission. Notice 3 things you've never really noticed before. A window shape, a crack in the sidewalk, maybe a bird call. I'll add a 4th, a huge great big puddle that was never on this part of the path before. Here we go. When you return, say aloud, the world is wider than I remember. I like that. the noticing walk.
Today on the photo walk.
She happily posed for a portrait, and I sort of walked away thinking, blimey, I've actually done it at last. I've got number one in the can. You know, I've never tried to pretend that this is anything other than incredibly difficult to do. Okay, all right, one photo. You can have one photo. And then as soon as I raised the camera to my eye, he basically just started posing. Yeah, I always give them my details, because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to just walk up and say, oh, can I take a picture and then walk off? Well, I think I've become mildly obsessed with the whole thing about strangers, because you get amazing stories from people. Everybody has got their own story, whether it might not seem particularly interesting to them. It might be really interesting to somebody else.
That's Tim Allen, my guest on the Photo Walk show today. Alongside him, we have Valérie Jardin, and I'll be sharing some of your letters, stories and thoughts you sent in about life and your adventures with a camera as we walk together. It's a show shaped by you as much as my wonderful guests, which is what makes this time together every single week feel really personal. I'll peek into the mailbag in a moment to see what's coming up. The mailbag is back, yes, but before that, I'd like to personally thank those who are Patreon members of our community, our extra milers, because your belief in this show, your desire to keep us walking week after week after week, is the whole why and how of this podcast. Thank you. Every week there's an extra show available through Patreon, which today features more of my conversation with Tim Allen, who opens up about some amazing other inspirations in his life and photography. Thank you also to arthelper.ai. They help you sell your photos online by making the posts and the mock-ups and the marketing emails for you when you think, oh, hang on, I've got some great stuff here, it's time for me to sell it. That's what they do. They step in and help you market your fantastic photography. You can get 30 days free with code PHOTOWALK when you go to arthelper.ai, and there's a link on the show page as well. Right on the show, Glenn Sowerby has been making street photos outside huge football events and enjoying the pies by the sound of it too. Chris Hughes down under thinks he's made his big The One picture for 2026, and he's done it in the first couple of days of the year. And Jeff Smeraldo is piecing together proper family photographic history that goes back generations. So shall we walk? Checklist out. Coffee, check. Garibaldi's, check. Aren't we supposed to be eating a few less of those this year, Neil? I mean, come on. Yes, I know. Dog treats, check. Walking boots, check. Spare film or an extra SD card, check. And some kind of business cardy thing to share your Insta, just in case you meet somebody interesting along the path to photograph. That's a very long checklist item, Neil. Will it fit on one line? Probably not. Let's walk. That sounded horrible. Oh no, pups, look at this. Barney is walking around the edges of it. Oh, you can fit through that bit there, Barnes, I can't. Oh dear. That squelch, disgusting noise, disgusting. We mentioned the noticing walk at the start. Oh, here comes the rain again. Who sang that? When was that a hit? Yeah, we mentioned the noticing walk right at the start of the show, and I didn't know it was a thing as such. Makes sense. I looked it up to find that a noticing walk is a mindful activity, often in nature, where you slow down and intentionally use all your senses to observe details that you might normally miss. You focus on sights and sounds and smells and physical sensations to boost well-being and appreciation for your surroundings. Even if it does mean, come on pups, this way. Even if it does mean you get a boot full of mud and water. Ugh. The noticing walk. Thank you, Michael, for sending that in. Very much part of the ethos of this show. Well, here we are, another week. You're very welcome on the walk, camera or not. If you just enjoy a good wander with curious souls who notice life in pictures, this is your place as well. The email address for the show, if you think, oh, I've got something to say about my photography or the places I walk, the adventures I take and make, then stories@photowalk.show is the email address, stories@photowalk.show. So, first letter time. before we meet Tim in a moment. It's from Glenn Sowerby, all about candid street pictures, which is a timely mail, because today Valérie Jardin is here for Teach Me Street. So we're starting with a street story from a sports event. Almost a tongue twister, not quite. From Glenn. I've always shied away from street photography, as candid images of folk on the street was a step too far out of my personal comfort zone. I've enjoyed making portraits, but primarily I have a coastal and landscape focus. You see, Glenn, they never say, "Get me best side," do they? However, thanks to your conversations with Valérie and a multitude of others, I was starting to sway and thought about getting out and trying it. And then came along the Photo Walk episode 510, The Beautiful Game, with your guest Laura Gates, which gave me the final push to get out and photograph on that street. Using the football fan theme after listening to Laura on the show, just to fill in some gaps here, Laura is a photographer who photographs people going to and from the mighty Everton FC in Liverpool. I went with a good friend, using that inspiration, into Sunderland city centre prior to the Sunderland versus Leeds match at the end of last year. Glenn, it's like a baptism of fire, that one. That's one of the big rivalry games, isn't it? I mean, I know it's not Magpies Black Cats, but all the same, you picked a very vibey one to start with. Anyway, armed with a photo plan, my aim was to introduce movement blur so people wouldn't be recognisable, or to shoot from behind people. However, whilst that had been the plan, once I eased myself into the day and became comfortable with the fact nobody really seemed bothered about me taking pictures, I just started to street photograph without barriers. It was flipping cold, but worth the trip out. I can't say I'm hooked on street portraits, but I am looking forward to trying out more outings, including heading back to the Stadium of Lights, which is Sunderland's football ground, in the spring, when there should be a bit more colour around, as well as heading to Whitby for the upcoming Goth Weekend. Goth Weekend? Now that does sound good. What's that noise in the background, Glenn? Oh, don't... Oh... I've chosen yet another walk where somebody's come out and thought, let's chop down trees and make a lot of noise. Oh, you may have to take a different path, pups. But a Goth Weekend, Glenn, that does sound fascinating. What amazing characters you're going to find. I've attached some of my images from the football day. They're by no means masterpieces. Oh, Glenn. But I'm happy with them as a starting point. My personal favourite, Red and White Army, which will be on the show page today. There are also some images from the Kiel Crossing Bridge, which links the Sunderland Centre to the stadium on the other side of the river. The bridge has only been open a couple of months, but it's worthy of a photography project all of its own. Within the pictures I've sent is Sheepfolds Stables. And if you like your grub before a match, this is the place to be. Cy King's proper pie is worth the trip alone. Oh, you see, Glenn, you can't beat a great British pie and a football match. Freezing cold day, pie in one hand, cup of Bovril in the other. Bovril, Neil, look it up. You don't care what the score is. You're in heaven. You're in pie heaven. Finally, I appreciate, he says, everybody has their thoughts on what the best football anthem is, and I guess this goes for any stadium, really, in any part of any sport in any part of the world. But the song you talked about on that episode with Laura, Sunshine on Leith, is definitely up there. Having said that, a full ground of Mackems singing Can't Help Falling in Love With You just tops the lot. There's a few words there. I may have to put some references on the show page. Mackems being the supporters. But yeah, there are so many anthems. I still think You'll Never Walk Alone, sung at full pelt in Anfield, Liverpool's stadium, is, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I still think that's an anthem that's hard to beat. I really do. I'll pop your street sport pictures, or sport street pictures, that is a tongue twister, on the show page today, and I shall pop a couple of Sunderland-based films in the video gallery part of the show page. So those not familiar with the Black Cats, can understand that extreme passion you saw. Now, I've got okay, it's a glove in a tree picture. It's not going to win awards, but it's a glove in a tree picture. Hang on. Oh, focus error. Now, this is happening a lot with this camera. Let me do what I always do. First port of call, take battery out, wait a couple of seconds, put battery back in, turn camera back on, make picture. Focus error. Oh, I don't know, Glenn. I think my X100V. There's not going to be a glove picture this week. The X100V is refusing it. Maybe is it a focus error or cliche picture error? I don't know. I shall have to look that up. Oh, what's happened to the V? It may be going to camera hospital. That could be the last sketchbook photograph today. Rats. Well, I've got my phone, obviously. Oh, pups. The X100V isn't working. Have you been chewing it? Have you? Have you been chewing my camera? Huh? There goes a pinstriped express. Can you hear it? I've just spent the last, at least 10 minutes trying to stop this problem with a focus error, and there's naught I can do, as they say. It's refusing to focus. I've got a black mist filter on there, perhaps, I don't know, maybe that's causing a focus issue. It's a bit too wet and grimy at the moment to, grimy, to mess about with filters and try and put them in a safe place so they don't get scratched. Might have to be an experiment for home, but no. Camera is simply refusing to focus. Manual focus, Neil, yes, manual focus. Actually, since we were talking just a moment ago about Glenn's pictures, his sporting outing that he had, you never quite know how this show is going to change things, do you? How you see, how the things that you talk about. But in my other job, Glenn, just returning to your football thoughts a moment ago about football songs the fans chant in the stands. So yes, in my other job, the one I have as a funeral celebrant, it was about, nearly 2 weeks ago, I was officiating at a funeral for a Scot who lived in my local town, who was a big Hibernian fan, Hibs for short, and that is, of course, the team whose fans sing the Proclaimers song "Sunshine on Leith." We were planning music for that funeral, for what we call the exit song, the very final song of the celebration of life. It's where people leave the chapel, and because the family couldn't really think of one, I suggested a song that I would not have known about had I not been talking to Laura on that episode about Sunshine on Leith being a fantastic football anthem. And I learned that it being the Hibs song, that it was something that perhaps I suggested to the family that this particular chap could have as his exit song, he being a massive Hibs fan. I mean, we couldn't quite get 35,000 fans singing it all at once, which would have been a tearjerker, but all the same, we belted out on the system "Sunshine on Leith" for him, and it was completely on the back of my chat with Laura. So, as I say, you never quite know what this show does. The avenues it leads you down. Every day, as they say, is a school day. Right, shall we hear from Tim Allen? He's here for part one now of our conversation. I'm hoping that his message may inspire you if you've ever thought, you know what, I'd like to have a go at documenting people, documenting my town, documenting the people that or who live around me. So here's Tim Allen, part one. Tim, so much to talk about. Thank you, by the way, first of all, for the book, Strangers When We Meet.
No problem.
Volume 1, which means...
Well, yeah, I thought I'd put that on there because it might sort of increase my chances of maybe doing another one at some point. But it's taken me best part of 3 years to do that one.
Are you someone that needs a gentle nudge then? If you declare something, a bit like a New Year's resolution, I shall become Mr. Universe, then you will.
Well, it did take me nearly 10 years to start the project in the first place, so I suppose you could... I mean, there's some good reasons in there why it didn't happen, but it does kind of date back to 2013 when I was first inspired to do it, but then kind of life events got in the way somewhat.
Well, I want to, if I may, just hobble along that path and find out why the whys and the whens of when everything happened and how it is where it is. But I'm intrigued by the title, Strangers When We Meet. There's a film called Strangers When We Meet, isn't there? And there's also a song by Bowie. Yeah, well, it's always been one of my favourite songs by Bowie. And although I always think of it as one of his newer ones, it's just turned 30 years old, of course. No way. Oh.
Yeah. That's what I thought when I looked it up. So that inspired the title, to be honest, and it seemed to fit what I was doing as well. So I thought, we'll go with that, and that actually came quite quickly. Actually, that was I'd only done the first couple of shots, and I thought, right, I need a name for this. Settled on that, and here we are.
I'm somebody in life myself who needs a title before I can start something. It seems to be the way that I can drive. If I've got a title, it's a real thing. If I haven't, it's we'll put it in the drawer. Maybe it'll happen, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I'd done a previous project which I'd called Artisans because it was all about sort of craftspeople, which was about 10 years ago. And funnily enough, I'm literally just about to restart that as well, alongside the Strangers shoots as well. But so it's once I got the title, it was, like I say, it did take me a hell of a long time to get going with it. But once I got going, I was like off and away.
So tell me about your photography first of all. Then who you are, what you are with a camera in your hand.
Always just been a keen amateur, I suppose I'd describe myself as. I think I bought one of the earlier, when DSLRs became a bit more affordable, which was probably about 2007, I think it was. Did the usual thing, changed cameras every couple of years, bought every kind of lens going. Couldn't really settle on anything in particular. I'd always liked portraits, but it felt like a very daunting thing to try and get into.
Daunting?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it's just, I'd not necessarily like studio portraits, more a case of, although I'd done street photography, and I liked it, and there's some really good stuff out there, I quite liked it when people actually, the photographer did engage with the subject, and it wasn't just like a candid snapshot. Yeah. And then the first person that really sort of lit my fire on this was Neil McDermott. I don't know if you've had him on the show.
I haven't, but didn't he have a project called, was that Crossing Paths?
Crossing Paths, yeah. It's a beautiful book. It's long out of print now, unfortunately, but I'd been sort of following that back when Twitter was not what it is now. Not sure how I discovered Neil, but he started posting his work because he was going all over the country every weekend pretty much. And after a while, he got a contract to do a book of the project. I went along to the launch of that, which was 2013. Met Neil, had a quick chat. Beautiful book. It was just sort of everything I sort of wanted to be in a photography, if you know what I mean. Met up with Neil a couple of times after that for like a quick coffee and a quick chat kind of thing. And I actually saw him work on one occasion. We were just walking across Leicester Square, I think it was, in London, chatting away, and all of a sudden I realised that he'd vanished. And when I turned round, he'd seen this amazing looking guy, and it was all over in about 2 minutes. Quick chat, did the shoot, and then we just carried on. So somewhere in my archive, I've got a photo of him doing his thing. So I thought, this is what I want to do. Let's see if we can do that. And then nearly 10 years later, I actually did something about it.
Well, there's those two periods, aren't there? There's the 10 years and the 3 years, which I think you've referred to, and we'll talk about each historical thing in a moment. I find doing street portraits, there's a mixture of absolute drive and enjoyment and complete and abject terror, all rolled into one.
Yeah, and unfortunately you don't get the joy until you've gone through the terror bit.
Yeah.
And obviously if I'm not in the mood, I'm not particularly confident in any stretch. Yeah. So the first time I actually just approached, it turns out to be a lovely lady called Sylvia, who is subject number one in my project. She was just on she was staying with family, in fact, over Christmas. She was over from Eastbourne. This is all down in Hastings, by the way. I got chatting to her on a bench, had this amazing conversation with her for about 40 minutes, got the whole life story, etc., etc. She happily posed for a portrait, and I sort of walked away thinking, blimey, I've actually done it at last. I've got number one in the can.
Well, that's often the way, isn't it?
Exactly.
I did a course course, with Gabrielle Matola. I went on one of her workshops, and I was intrigued to see how she worked. It is in the approach, it's how you talk with people, and whether you spook the person that you talk with, because I remember there being a particular chap who looked amazing, had a wonderful hat on, and it was a beret, and he had this stripy jumper. I know it's sounding like a cliche sort of French Parisian scene, but it wasn't. He just looked fabulous. I approached him, and I told him he looked great, and asked him for a photograph. I can't remember exactly what I said, and he just looked at me and said no. And it went silent. But the next person after me that was on the workshop had apparently, well, I say apparently, I know because I saw her photographs, had gone up to him, asked him a similar question, I would imagine, and he said yes, and got the most amazing photographs.
Yes,
so it is in your approach, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a bit of luck involved as well, I think. And I did get incredibly lucky, actually, I think, and I am going to call it luck. I'd done about 45 portraits before anybody had actually said no. So when it actually happened, because I've got no confidence in this kind of thing. I was expecting to sort of try 5 times, get 5 refusals, and that'll be it for me. It would have been all over. Done. Project was doomed. That was the end of that idea, kind of thing. But people just kept saying yes, which was lovely. And it does help that in general, everybody I've met down here has just been so nice and chilled and relaxed and sort of up for it. And I think in total now, I've had 9, maybe 10 people say no. And I've had like 230 something say yes, which I find absolutely gobsmacking, to be honest.
Now, down here, as you refer to it, is Hastings. Hastings is a seaside town on the south coast of England. What kind of character does it have? I don't mean the people, I mean the place.
I've probably taken more, well, I know I have. I've taken more shots in St Leonard's, but that's only like literally a mile up the road, and they're very intrinsically linked.
Is St Leonard's a posher bit?
Well, it was. There is a royal connection actually as to how it came about. I can't remember the exact history for it, but like all these places, they've all gone through cycles of doing well and doing not so well. St Leonard's definitely has a reputation at the moment of being quite up and coming, and there is some of the locals, not all of them by any stretch, call them DFLs, which is down from London, and some of them think it's great because they bring new people, new jobs, new businesses and stuff into the area, and some think they're terrible because they drive up the price of houses and they wear funny hats and spend all their days in coffee bars. That's all the typical sort of hipster stereotypes that get rolled out. I've just found everybody just nice, like I say. I mean, maybe there's obviously when you see somebody, you've obviously got to make quite a quick decision as to am I going to approach that person or not. And I don't really know how my brain works in that respect, because if it's a day when I'm not feeling confident, quite often they'll be walking straight at me and my brain just goes, well, why on earth would you ask them this question? That sounds ridiculous. What you thinking of? And of course I don't ask and I don't get the shot, and that's when I get frustrated, because I think, well, I've got a really good hit rate so far, so they're probably going to say yes. But some days, it's a confidence thing, and like I say, some days I just lose it and don't approach them. If I'd got a portrait of everybody amazing that I'd seen in the area over the last 3 years, I would probably have 700 or 800 portraits, literally, because it is very difficult. I've never tried to pretend that this is anything other than incredibly difficult to do, and I still find it difficult. And the big problem I'm having at the moment is the first 160 something portraits were me just literally walking up to people. Things then got a bit quiet, so on Instagram one day I just put a little post out, would you or anybody you like want to join the project, have a portrait taken? And I got loads of replies. I had about 10-15 replies. So I met up with all those, and they were still technically strangers, so different approach, but same thing really. So did that, and then a bit later on, in fact it was about a month before I was due to release the book in September last year, and I thought, well, I'll just do another shout out, and I had like 25 people got in touch, and I'm thinking, oh bloody hell, I've got to try and fit all these people in, which is a great problem to have, but I managed to shoot pretty much all of them. Some of them even are in the book, so they're quite sort of late, last minute additions.
I think that's a really great idea to embrace social media, to do a bit of the work for you.
Because of course, if I'd done that at the start, well, nobody would have seen it, because nobody would have seen the project, because it didn't really exist. But
well, then you've got an army of marketeers as well.
Exactly.
that have had their photos made, and they're obviously engaged in the project and interested enough to contact you. They're going to be your best voice piece, aren't they? Yeah,
and there's also some word of mouth. Somebody will get a portrait they're really pleased with, and they'll say, "Oh, my friend Catherine, she'll be up for this." And of course, next thing I know, I'm shooting.
Well, I suppose that's a bit like have you ever seen the Degrees Project by Andy Gotts?
No, I've heard of Andy Gotts. I haven't seen the project.
Look it up. It was Andy. If you feel inclined, that is. Andy's. I think it's one of his first projects. I'd never been able to get a chat with him, to be honest. But he approached a couple of famous people. I think. Who was his first one? I can't remember the first one, but the first led to the next, to the next, to the next. And because they were famous, they were just contacting their famous mates, their famous buddies. And it became this extraordinary piece of celebrity work, which Andy would never have achieved. I don't believe Andy would ever have achieved that.
Because his work is quite sort of striking black and white portraits, isn't it? I do know the work. Yeah.
If it weren't for this idea that those that you photograph can become the greatest champions of your work, and that is, I believe, why that project was successful. I'm sure Andy's a lovely guy, but I think it's on the back of that.
Yeah, and that wasn't something I thought would happen. And the other thing is, just on a personal thing, was quite a lot of these people have now become good friends down here as well. Wow, so by the time I actually moved down here, which was like sort of 18 months into the project when I actually moved down to Hastings, I actually knew quite a few people to say hello to in the street, so it made the move feel sort of less daunting, as it were.
Can we talk about some members of your family, because they play a not insignificant part in this whole project? We'll start with your mum. She passed in 2019, didn't she? Before that dreadful thing that starts with C and ends with D arrived.
That's the one, yeah.
But that did change the way you thought about time, didn't it? Because your dad was in fact a very effervescent, outgoing extrovert, wasn't he? That initially I think you thought you might peg this sort of project on the back of the ability of your dad to go up to people and say hello. It did end up. It was supposed to be sort of inspired and partly for him, because, if you went out for the day with him, you would constantly be like saying, "Yeah, come on, Dad, we've got to go now," because he will have just latched onto somebody in the nicest possible way. He also had a ridiculous ability to meet people in the most random places. We were in Yorkshire once. I think, is it Malham Cove, where it's like sort of broken up stone, middle of nowhere. We were the only people there, but we looked over and there was one chap walking towards us, and it was like, "Oh, hello, Jack, how are you?" And you think, how the hell is, they both worked together back down in Kent, and somehow they bumped into each other on this remote, moor in Yorkshire. But he was a bit like that. But the main sort of inspiration for it was the fact that because his mobility was getting quite bad because of his age, he wasn't able to go out and about as much as previously. So I thought, well, that gives me a bit of an excuse. I thought, if I go out, I'll get my project started, I get some photos, I'll make some notes just for myself about the people that I met, and then when I see my dad, you can
show him the photos and tell him about the people I met. So, which I thought, well, that did actually give me the motivation to finally crack on with it as well.
So did you get some sort of informal training from him on how to approach people? Or
no, nothing like that. No, he didn't know I was planning to do this. I just thought, well, let's just try and, spot somebody that looks fairly tame to start with, and think, I think they'll probably be up for a chat. And luckily they were. And it was just more a case of, it will be nice to, next time I see Dad, I'll have, we'll have something to chat about and take it from there, kind of thing. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go to plan, because he had a stroke. I basically came down here. It was Boxing Day 2022. So
he lived in Hastings.
No, he was up in Kent. We both lived in Kent all our lives. Right. I just got up. It was the Boxing Day. It was beautiful blue sky. Thought, right, nice day. Grabbed the old Canon off the shelf, jumped in the car, and Hastings is about 50 miles, so it's just over an hour. I thought, right, let's try and get this project started today because it's a nice day, I thought. And that's when I got my first two portraits.
So I'm still a bit confused then. Why Hastings? Why that 50
Just because I've been there before and I liked it. And I thought, I always like being on the coast. And I thought, well, it's only an hour and a bit away. I thought, well, I'll go down there. It seems like it's going to be a nice day. Haven't been there for a while. I'll just a random location, really. Went there for the day. And again, the project was never really meant to be focused on one particular area. But the more I kept coming back to Hastings, I just thought, I keep meeting all these nice people. They keep saying yes. And it kind of went from there, really.
It became a document of Hastings. You mentioned Boxing Day 2022. You picked up the old 5D. It's behind me, Tim, actually, my 5D.
Yeah, mine's here somewhere as well.
I love it. I mean, the texture and the colour of that original Canon 5D, I don't think it's been replicated. I mean, I know it was dreadful at high ISO. It looked like you were anything above 800. I would imagine it looked like you were photographing in a snowstorm. But apart from that, I absolutely adored that camera.
Well, I used to just shoot everything at f1.4, so that kind of mitigated that problem to a certain extent, unless you were out at night. But even then, I got some reasonably decent shots in London with it. Basically, I'd had one before in about 2010, I think it was, when I originally had one and did the usual thing, upgraded, sold it, whatever. So I actually rebought one for like 150 quid or something silly for this project specifically. And I don't use it now, but the first 70, 80 shots, I think, were all done.
They were all shot in the 5D.
Oh. Yeah. Did the job. So, and I've just kept it this time. It's not worth enough to sell, and they are gaining quite a reputation as being a bit of a classic. So I thought, well, I'll keep hold of that on a 50mm.
Like an old Ford Capri.
Absolutely, yeah.
So before you spoke to Sylvia, wasn't it? What was going through your head as Sylvia approached you? Because this is the picture, this is the photograph that makes the project.
Yeah, well, she was just sat on her own on a bench, and I was just happened to be walking in that direction, and she was sat there, and I thought, well, she's on her own. She might want to have a quick chat, you know. I wasn't sure if she was waiting for somebody or she just having a quick sit down or anything like that. So, I approached her and just sort of general chit-chat, really, nothing in particular that I can remember. And, we got chatting, got a bit of her life story and, why she happened to be sat on that bench that day. And then after a while, I told her about what I was trying to do. And she said, oh, yeah, I'll be up for that. And she was quite happy to sit there and sit for a portrait. And then after that, I just happened to walk down some steps. This was like 5 minutes later. And there was another guy wearing quite a cool hat. And I thought, right, let's go up and have a chat with him as well. Because having got that first one, feeling quite confident. And of course, these weird things that happened, got chatting to him. And he'd lived in my old hometown in Kent for a while as well. So we had a bit of a common connection there. And he was another willing sort of participant for a photo. So that was my first two on that day.
Although she's not the first in the book, is she? It's Molly is the first in the book.
Yeah, she's not actually in the book because I faced the difficult problem of having like 230 something pictures for a book that I could only get about 70 into. So she's not actually in there, which is probably an oversight on my part if she was the first. But so she was the one that set it off, really.
Sadly, I don't think Dad got to see the picture of Sylvia, did
No, this was like Boxing Day. I think it was a couple of days later I was due to go over and see him. And then I got a phone call saying, from my brother who was living with him at the time. And he said, well, I've just heard a bang from upstairs. I've gone up there and Daddy's on the floor in the bathroom and we can't, and he couldn't get in because he'd basically fallen down and gone up against the door. So we obviously had to phone the ambulance and they sorted him out. But he'd had a fairly minor stroke from what we could work out. And initially things seemed to be going quite well. For about the first week, he got to the stage where he was fully mobile again. He hadn't lost any movement in limbs or anything like that. And they were starting to do physio with him. So it was looking quite promising. But unfortunately, and apparently this is quite a common thing with elderly stroke victims, he started off with a bit of a cough and then that turned into pneumonia. Unfortunately, he just kept getting worse and worse. So it was end of January. He died. So that was a tough time.
But did the project take on a different weight with Dad passing?
It did then, because obviously there was stuff to arrange for the next couple of months. We had to arrange the funeral and all the usual things that you have to go through. But after that, it got to the point where I thought I need a break. There'd just been so much to do, and I just thought I need a weekend off. So again, I just grabbed the camera. I thought I want somewhere safe that I know where I'm going to enjoy for the day. So back to Hastings again, and I think I got 4 or 5 portraits that day because it was just to sort of clear my mind.
That amazing catharsis.
Yeah, totally. And it was. I think it was pretty much as I was driving back from that, I suddenly thought, well, I've got an even better excuse to carry on with it now as a tribute. And it was unfortunate that he never got to see any of it. But he'll always be part of it as part of the inspiration. So so it's ended up as kind of a part tribute to him. I think he'd love looking at it now, I must admit. I mean, it's... I'm not a religious person at all, but if he did happen to be looking down, I think he'd probably be quite amused by the fact that I carried on with it and I've met so many people.
And Tim Allen returns shortly for part 2. Returning shortlier than shortly, if there's such a word, will be Valérie Jardin for her monthly appearance for Teach Me Street. Good news, by the way, obviously that Valerie's here, but good news, I've managed to make the camera focus. I did find a pouch where I could safely put the filter that I'd unscrewed, the black mist filter, and it seems to be okay. Whether the physical filter attachment itself screwing onto the body was a problem, or whether it was looking through I can't see why that would be an issue. I've been doing that for months now. I don't know, but it seems to be okay. I don't like things that are a bit intermittent, work one moment, don't work the other. But it seems A-okay. I would go back and get the picture of the glove, but that's about half mile, 3/4 mile back along the track, so I won't be doing that. In the meantime, I've been taking some more sketchbook photographs of green stuff to get nice, colours, yellows and greens mainly. Come on, pups, this way. It'll be a focus study. Not the most interesting sketchbook photographs, but there we go. Right, come on, pups. Unless you live in Australia land, stand by for a hyperspace leap across to the most fantastical land of Oz. Grab a towel. Those who know that book will understand what I mean by that. This one is from Chris Hughes. Good morning, Neil, from Australia land. Being one of your more mature listeners, i.e. older, I tend to binge listen and often miss out on the week-by-week activities. I'd have loved to... What's that got to do with being one of the more mature listeners? I'm not quite sure. Am I missing something? Probably. I would have loved to submit to the one, but... Well, Chris, come on. You've got a but with three dots there and ellipses. You can join in with the one at the end of the year, because the one feature that we had prior to Christmas, where you shared your big picture from 2025, is returning in 2026. So no reason for the but. Just hold that picture on file. And by the by, more mature I like. I think it shows a depth of knowledge. You, Chris Hughes in Australia land, are like a fine wine, a Chateau Neuf de Fallover from 19 whatever. My photo walks, says Chris, are in and around Hurstbridge on the northeastern outskirts of Melbourne. I don't know that area, but it already sounds fantastic. I want to visit. Do you have a spare room? My wife and I have lived in the area for all our married life, over 50 years. So we've seen a huge amount of change. My image that I'm sharing, and I'll put this on the show page, is of Margot and Dog. I see Margot and her lovely terrier, hereinafter called Dog, most mornings. They shuffle along at Dog's pace. And when he's had enough, she pops Dog in the pusher and walks him home. She mentioned previously that Dog was losing his sight and that they had to walk quite slowly so that his nose could guide them. I saw Margot and Dog on the morning of the 2nd of Jan this year. She approached me and said, "Could you take a portrait of Dog? He's only just had his eye removed in a recent operation." So I took a couple of images of Dog that she seemed happy with. And I also took this picture, the one that's on the show page today. I was hoping to show the absolute love that she had for this wee creature. This morning, I saw Margot again, and she approached me and thanked me for the photo. She says she particularly liked this image because it showed how she was feeling on that day. This is my The One for the year ending 2nd of January 2026. There's a whole year to go yet, Chris. Not a bad way to start, though, eh? You are possibly, I think, well, no, you are the first to make the one picture in 2026, although we don't officially open the thing till, well, September / nearly October. Shall I hang on to it for you? Shall I do that? I do love it. You might take another one where you think, oh, I've got another one. I've got a different one. So, I don't know. I'll hold on to it anyway. It's raining, Chris. I can't think very clearly when it's raining. Don't know why. There's a haiku that you sent in as well. Do like a nice haiku. This is about obviously your meetings with Margot and Dog. Lady and her love. Her love guides his shuffling legs, together as one. This is perfect, Chris. It really is, honestly. The picture will be on the show page, and I love this because it fits in with the theme of making photographs of people on the street near you. Now, I know this was less than candid, and what we're about to talk about is candid photography, but all the same, it's experiencing people, isn't it? I think this is a good time, Chris, because you can hear Look, can you hear that? Breaking the beautiful silence that we had just a moment ago. This is a good opportunity, I think, to meet Valérie for this month's Teach Me Street. They're chopping wood, pups. They're making noise. Oh, what about this today, eh? Rain, chopping.
Valérie, you know this. From being French and looking across the channel. The English have a way of making the weather sound really bad when it's just a teeny bit. I mean, we've got I think half a centimetre, if that, of snowfall in the garden. Yet on the weather forecast of the weekend, it was Arctic blast.
Funny.
But you've had -30 for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, and not at the moment as we're recording this, we have a heat wave and we may actually get to the freezing mark. And we're seriously going out without jackets. It feels so warm.
After -2? Stop it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's not
It was so. We had really brutally cold December. Yeah. So we're thawing a little bit in January before the next blast. But we've had a ton of snow. It's wonderful. It's so beautiful. A lot of snowshoeing. Yeah. Because there's some years where we have the very cold, but not a ton of snow. But this year we have both, and we've had a whole week of snow every day, and so it's a lot of work, because we have a big yard, a big driveway, 2 parking spots next to the garage, and it's you have to clear that stuff every day.
Hang on, snowshoeing, is that where you put tennis rackets on the bottom of your feet, essentially? Is that the one?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to imagine you in tennis rackets on your feet.
I'll send you a video.
I like that. Oh.
And so, and making, we have a small dog, so I have to make trenches throughout the backyard every time it snows. So it is a lot of work. It's a lot more work than cutting the grass, but I don't know. There's something very healthy about it, and it clears your head. There's nothing like cold blast to clear your mind.
Clear your mind. And you've been to an ice. What was it? An ice bar or something?
Yeah. They're an ice igloo. I just posted the picture this morning, last night. Yeah. Lots of activities. You'd think it's winter, nothing happens, but in the Twin Cities, we have a very active art community, so there is always something happening there. Yeah. And then a lot of ice festivals, winter festivals. There is something all the time. There is ice sculptures. Have popping all over the place, international snow sculpture competitions and so forth. So there's always something happening outside, no matter how cold it gets.
They'd be hard pushed to make any kind of ice sculpture in my town, that's for sure. Right. Welcome to the new year. Here we are, 2026. These come round quite quickly, don't they? But we've got a new tranche of photographs for 2026 for Teach Me Street. Then I want to have a quick little chat about what you're doing, what you're up to this year. Let's start with Chris Hughes. Now, Chris Hughes essentially sent in 3 pictures. Yeah. Same bloke, slightly different as, well, it's the same photograph.
The original photograph and then 2 different
treatments.
Processing.
Yeah. What do you think? I'll put these on the show page. There's a color processed one and a very, very contrasty dark black and white one.
And I think he knows what I'm going to say. I find that especially when you have such an interesting character. So this is an older gentleman with a really, really long beard, long hair, really weathered look. And that's when you want the clarity, push the clarity a little bit. And in black and white, of course, that's the type of treatment that fits this type of subject, I think. And it's just a beautiful photograph of him in black and white. That said, the colors are beautiful as well, but if you look at the original photograph, look how much color distraction you have around him. And you, of course, you go to the human subject right away, but the eye of the viewer will start being pulled in different directions, to the purple of the girl's jacket, to the blue of the person's jacket behind him, and so forth. Whereas you remove the color and you stay on the subject. And although he did some creative cropping as well, I do think that the black and white is much stronger.
Yeah, and he's walking into frame a little bit more in the black and white, isn't he? That's for sure.
Yeah, I also like but I think even if he had not cropped it that tight, the original frame in black and white would be that much stronger.
That's quite tight cropping, actually, that black and white one. You'll see it if you go to the show page. Do you crop very tightly with your street work?
Sometimes I just get close. I quite like the square. I've been actually shooting my new project all in square. We are Minnesota, and I actually do square JPEG. So there is you can't cheat. The square stays square, and it's strong. And I think in a body of work, square works for a series if it's all square. I think mixing square with other ratios, it looks a little funny, but here I think the square is really, really strong in that tight crop. There's no rule, what is going to make the strongest photograph in the end, and I quite like it.
Well, the next one is somebody that you know. It's Bob Shonkoff, who has been on at least one of your courses, hasn't he? In one of your street courses.
Yes. And he sent us 3 photographs.
I know, we were in for a treat. Yeah.
In a lovely little montage.
Let's start with the cycling, the dad who's wheeling or cycling his young lass around, who looks like his daughter's having a fantastic time on one of these city bikes, I think. Yeah,
and I think they're all taken at the same spot, because you recognize the background. So are these, they're steamers? Like in the summer you have those... misters, I think we call them here. Misters that come out of the ground.
That's what they are. Yes.
Yeah.
And reading his blurb about it, it's I should have done this before. Apologies. The Italian architect who's known for the Centre Pompidou in Paris, the Shard in London, and the Whitney Museum in New York. Being so close to home, this location has become one of my favourite places to go with a camera. 3 images taken with that, as you correctly said, that splash pad water installation thing to cool people down in the summer. This is the City Center Bishop Ranch, is it Ramon in California? Sorry, California.
Don't know. I can't see it.
Sorry, Californians. But so there we go. There's the backstory to it. It is that water. Yeah.
And I love playing with those. We have those misters at various events in the summer when the crowd needs to cool off, when the temperatures are really, really high. And so they always make for some really a nice filter, especially when you have when the sun come into play, or you're shooting into the sun in the end of the day. So they always make that really interesting filter. So here we have 3 different shots of people with that mist. I don't know that installation. At first, when I saw the one in the bicycle, I think it's fun because the child is in the front basket and going through this mist, and I think it's a cute shot. The second one I was completely drawn to because I didn't understand what those boots were, but I think they're part of the installation because there are boots on the other side as well. So I don't think there's somebody's boots that were left there.
No, I just thought for a moment somebody had blasted off into space out of the boots.
It looks like it. That's what totally caught my attention, and I haven't been to that place. So, but it looks like that is part of the installation, possibly, or maybe that was a temporary add-on to it. I quite like the silhouette of the person sitting on the chair. And again, there we have the mist in the background and the nice shadow.
Very Parisian seats, those, aren't they?
I quite like my favorite. Yeah, aesthetically, I think my favorite would be the last one.
Would it?
But it's fun. I think it's good that he picked a place and he visits it frequently. Yeah. And what a wonderful series! I think you can certainly. I mean, you could potentially have hundreds of pictures of that same place and never photographing the same thing. And it's a good project to have. Really easy to do because everyone has a fun location or an iconic. I always say, no matter how small your town, or you have an iconic landmark or something that you can include in your photograph to give a sense of place, and photograph that landmark. It could just be the grain elevator. It doesn't have to be the Eiffel Tower. So photograph that in all seasons, all weather, and include people. And or it could simply be a park bench. Photograph that park bench in all seasons with different people. Sometimes it's empty. Sometimes there is just a person sitting there, and then sometimes sleeping on it. No matter what it is, just photograph. Don't try to keep it exactly the same frame, because I think that gets pretty repetitive, but have this one constant subject in a series that could just be down the street. And what a fun thing to do. So I assume these were taken on at different times, and from what you read,
I
sounds
think
like
so.
It's a place he goes visit frequently, and I think it's really fun, and I think he's onto a really fun series. Sometimes the picture by itself will not be that great or that exciting, but in a series it will have its place. So I would say, hey, keep going.
You often talk about patience, and I think this is showing patience. We I was trying to think of something we have in Newbury, my nearest big town as such. We have Paddington Bear, a plastic Paddington, big, huge Paddington Bear on a bench, and it was there for a long time. And it made some funny photographs, actually, of people sort of interacting with Paddington Bear, until two guys from the military who were out on a drunken night cut Paddington Bear off the chair. And,
no!
But he's back.
What's wrong with you people? You cut trees, you cut bears.
No, well, it's not quite as big as the Sycamore Gap, because it was back within a couple of months. But I know what you mean about finding somewhere in your local town. Right. What's new for you in 2026? I know you're doing workshops, but
I'm doing workshops.
Project-wise, what's the project for this year? We talked about it just before Christmas, actually. Your project, didn't we?
Yes, actually, I had not started it, or I had not shared it yet. We are Minnesota, which is. I think I have 12 people now from first or second generation immigrants, Native Americans, and they're the people who make our state what it is. And why I love living here is because of this beautiful diversity. So far I have photographed, and they're portraits, so it's super challenging. I don't like posing people, so I kind of let them do their own thing. Sometime I photographed a chef that seriously gave me 2 frames while the restaurant was already filling up with customers, and it was so quick. Talk about stressful. Like, I have literally seconds to get a shot. And so yesterday I was really excited. I got to meet the new mayor of St. Paul, who is the first Asian American to be elected to office. And she was so lovely. I mean, she just started on January 2nd. Wow. And she met me on January 5th and gave me an appointment because she thought this project was so important right now. And so it's been good. It's been channeling my anger into something positive. And I think that's something we can all do. And everybody knows how challenging times are today and how much anxiety everybody has. I mean, it's January 6th and we're all completely exhausted. So focus that energy into something good. And to me, that's that's helping me stay sane in those awful times.
I love the picture of Jacques, the Cameroonian-American artist, stroke educator, stroke DJ. He looks a proper character, doesn't he?
He's a good friend. Yeah, it was fun. So I'm going to continue. I think it's going to be a longer project than I had first anticipated.
Yep.
My goal right now is at least 50 different cultural backgrounds.
Oh, wow.
But
Whoa.
some of them will obviously have, I'll have multiple, like there's a really big Hmong population here, so I'll have a lot more. I photographed one of the best chefs in the country who is Hmong American, the mayor of St. Paul who is Hmong American, so a lot of Native Americans as well. So I want to really have the most diversity, and Somali Americans. I photographed a young Ukrainian American musician, and they answer one question: what makes Minnesota home for you? So I really encourage people, listeners, wherever you are, and I know you have a big audience in the U.S., you start that in your own state.
Yeah.
Do something similar.
Yeah, that's a great idea, a really nice idea.
And I'm not proud of every portrait. Again, it's very rushed, and I'm not a portrait photographer. It's like, okay, they're sometimes not creative enough because of lack of time. But it's not about the picture. It's about the message. And it's very challenging because, again, I have time. I literally have a few seconds. Yesterday, I had 10 minutes with the mayor of St. Paul, and I thought, what luxury. I haven't had this much time with anyone.
What did you do? 30 seconds of pictures and sat down and had coffee?
We actually chatted for quite a while.
I know that you like to work with a bit of briskness. So, yeah. Well, it's a great project. I'm going to put a link on the show page so that you can go and see Valerie's project for 2026 and beyond by the summer.
Yeah, well, at least the whole year, and that's what I'll be doing in between trips when I'm in town here. Yeah, because that is a Minnesota project. So, my first purely Minnesota project.
Oh, my thanks to Valérie Jardin for this month's Teach Me Street. Now, I was supposed to be in Paris this weekend with Valérie, but unfortunately, things haven't conspired to make that happen. All sorts of stuff in calendars and so on and so forth. So, Pups, do you think it's as rainy in Paris? It really is coming down now. I'm not sure that it's coming across on the microphone, but there we go. Onto the canal. Pups, I'm thinking that we might take a break from the rain in a moment. Or do we battle on, do we? Shake, 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 shake. Come on, Pups. It doesn't matter how much you shake. Unless you wear a raincoat over your head. I'm not sure that's going to work. Yes, my thanks to Valérie, who will be back next month. On the show page today, a couple of things. The new free-to-air Reflections show has a link. Although if you listen through Apple, etc., you may want to go to your podcast player app, look up Reflections by Neil James. There's a couple there, but it'll be obvious when you get to it, because we're trying out some new artwork, avatar-led, which is completely new for me. Anyway, you'll find Reflections. Subscribe there. It's the latest podcast in the family of Photo Walk shows. Every day, Monday to Friday, a 10-minute thought for the day about being a creative. We cover everything from, well, there's some quite personal stories on there, to things like perfection, imposter syndrome, that kind of thing. It's a real mix of stories, but it's daily, Monday through Friday, Reflections. And I am delighted to say we still have a space on the Scottish retreat that's waiting for you in June. Big year this year. We've never run this in the early summer months, so it's a bit different. It gives us a big opportunity, though, for late evening sunset walks, and the early ones too, probably. We'll be making some beautiful photogravure prints at a studio down by the River Ness, which is something I've never done before. It's the ultimate legacy print of your life. And I know what you're saying. Neil, that sounds a little bit dramatic. No, honestly believe it. There's a lot we do. There's walking, there's photography, lots of talking, lots of sharing stories. It's we've been running this for a number of years now, and it's a great deal of fun. It really is. Add to that, we've got a short piece about sound and writing and forest bathing, which is wrapped up with some mindful writing that we do. I love that bit, I really do. Anyway, it's open to you. Go to the website, look for Scotland 26. You can apply there. Pups is shaking. Shake, 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 shake. Shall we go for the cafe? Come on, let's go this way. No argument from Pups. He's thinking, yeah, cool, dear. Come on then. Let's do bacon butty during the show, which is a bit strange. We don't usually do it that way. It's the Photo Walk show of a Friday. Me with my camera, which is now focusing, and you with your camera, me with a microphone, and your letters too. I'm doing a mailbag week, actually, a specific mailbag week. I'm recording it in Austria. That's the plan. Why do you need to go to Austria, Neil, to record that? Well, I'm there, so I thought, let's go up a mountain with your letters. Final part of Tim Allen in a moment. I meant to mention a moment ago, we have a Substack for this show. I did talk about Substack right at the head of the show today, which I'm starting to embrace far more. But as we like communities here, can I just say what a breath of fresh air it is that there's a fair few of those in our community that are part of this wonderful Substack platform. I'm going to give a shout out, as the youth say, to Giles Penfound, my dear friend Giles, for his new 5x4 profile, which is a foray into his new photographic passion. Can I use the word passion, Giles? I know sometimes passion's a bit overused, but I think it is. The dark room set up for it. He's been making these gorgeous photographs locally to where we live, and some further afield actually, and he's just sort of getting to grip with the 5:4 format. So this Substack is about his journey, another overused word, as he as he gets to grips with the 5:4 experience. So it's all about his learning journey. It's a learning document in many respects. I mean, Giles can use 5:4. He learned to do that many years ago. But when you re-ingratiate yourself with something that you haven't done for a long time, there's bound to be a period of refreshed learning. More water. Cool, the locks are flowing freely today. Whew, look at that. Pups is well ahead of me. I'm off to the cafe, I know you are. So that's Giles, 5x4. And then our friend Mr. Smeraldo. You know Jeff, don't you? Jeff Smeraldo. He's one of the very active members of our Photo Walk community. He has used the platform, Substack that is, to post his picture a day, a 365, if you will. So this seems another place where you can think about perhaps a 365 feature. I'm here, Pups, don't worry. He's not been very vocal today. Are you sure he's with you, Neil? Yes, he is. So on the Smeraldo front, Jeff Smeraldo, there's been a letter nicely maturing in the inbox for a while. It's all about history and the enduring thing that photography brings us in that respect. Neil, says Jeff, my wife and I have recently started a slide and family photo digitizing project to create digital copies of our parents' slides and photos and put them into digital viewers so they can be seen again. I was going through a box from my dad today and came across this photo, a negative, of my great-grandfather, Albert Smeraldo. That's a great-grandfather's name, isn't it? Who was a produce peddler. A produce peddler. You can see him proudly, I can, standing in a wagon bearing his name and business. This was in Orange, New Jersey, near where Thomas Edison had his laboratories. The photo and negative are dated April 5th, 1924. Making these 101/2 now years old. I have no information on the photographer or the camera used. I wish I did. I'm curious. But I imagine my great-grandfather wanted the picture made as he was living the American dream of having his own business and was proud to show it off. Or maybe because he wanted to preserve some family history for future generations. But we'll never know. We'll never know. I have a print of this photo, but I didn't know my dad had the negative. So I thought it'd be good to share with you and your other listener, and Barney, of course. He will appreciate it, no doubt. Barnes, Jeff's sharing something. Come back. He'll appreciate it later. Out of the rain. If you ever needed proof of the endurance of photography, and that as photographers we are indeed historians, well, here is an example. Thanks again for a great show and community of photography that you've created. Jeff Smeraldo. Jeff, thank you. I am popping these on the show page. What a find. Really. What a find. This is what Pictures of People really is all about, isn't it? I adore this kind of nostalgia. I really do. And I think you've teed up the perfect moment to hear the second part of my chat today with Tim Allen, whose own pictures in 101/2 years' time will be, just like what you found. An enduring memory of a time and a place and of people.
I was having a conversation with one of our extra milers the other day, and John Anderton is his name, and he was telling me about approaching strangers on the street because he has a project that he's making as well in terms of meeting strangers, photographing them, then asking them for what he calls a life sentence, which is which is a quote, if you like, a bit of advice that people have right at the end of the conversation, which I think is a great idea. I do love the title as well. But he was telling me that often it's just the politeness of interacting with someone that can change the whole spirit of a conversation. You might well say, "Look, you look great. You've got a great hat. I love. Can we do a photo?" And they might say no. And you say, well, okay, that's great, but have a super day anyway, and they move onwards. And I think that have a super day anyway, it's nice to have met you. He said often people would turn around and say, oh, go on then. Yeah. It's that approach of, if they say no, you don't go off in a huff. You think,
oh no, totally. You're not trying to force the situation. I mean, if somebody doesn't want to have their photo taken that day, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. And quite often I've still had these mammoth conversations with these people, even though I know I'm not going to get a picture. Yeah. And I might even then bump into them again. And in fact, I've got a couple of friends down here that I would now class as really good friends, but they refused the photo early on. And I know they would still never do it now, but it doesn't matter, because now now they're a friend. It doesn't matter about the project. It's just how I happen to meet them. But nobody's been sort of get away from me, you weirdo, or anything like that. It's all been very polite, and that's why I've just enjoyed doing it down here in particular.
Well, you made a bit of a decision in 2024, wasn't it? You thought, hang on a moment, I don't know whether it's that you were enjoying photographing people of Hastings so much that you thought, why don't I just move here? But you are now a resident of the town that you fell in love with through photographing its people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was partly that, I've got to say. But I had the opportunity to move for the first time in nearly 30 years, and I thought, well, let's make a proper move of it. Let's do something different. Let's go from being in a town to let's go to the coast. And I thought, well, why not? Why not go to Hastings? Because again, I got to know quite a few people by that stage. I like the area. I mean, I don't live right on the seafront now, but it's like less than 10 minutes in the car, and I'm down in St Leonard's or something and going for a stroll. So yes, it's worked out really well. I mean, the sad reality is, I mean, again, none of that would have happened had Dad still been around, But that's the life, direction life took us. And again, I think he'd be absolutely chuffed for me that I've, made a big change and doing what I like. So it is weird how things just turn out okay in the end, as it were.
You're supporting a hospice as a charity with the proceeds of this book. Why this charity?
mainly because having lost both parents relatively recently and having seen, these absolutely amazing people that work in hospices or, later life care, however you want to call it, they're just incredible people as far as I'm concerned. And it just seemed like an appropriate thing to do. I mean, there was no connection with that particular hospice to me or my family, but, I thought I want to do something that I think, I don't know, it just inspired me. It's just a personal thing, really. But I think just having gone through sort of losing both parents sort of relatively close together, I just, it seemed an appropriate thing to support. I mean, there's loads and loads of good charities down here. Whether I support them for the next book or not, I don't know. Haven't made that decision yet. But, they've been really supportive of it as well.
Well, I thought it was a nice touch that the centre spread features 8 pictures from the hospice. Yeah,
well, my main contact had agreed to a portrait, and then when we were doing that, I said, "Well, do you think anybody else would be up for it?" So she sent some emails round, and the next thing I know, I'm back and I'm doing, I think it was 7 in one day, in fact. And I thought, well, hang on, that will fit on a grid quite nicely. So I thought, you know what, centre spread can just be them because it's it's being done for them. Yeah. And although I'd wanted to do a book, I don't think I would have had the confidence to just do a book and say, my book's for sale, please buy it. Yeah. But again, because I'd set it up so that 100% of the proceeds were going to the hospice, I was funding the printing basically and everything else. And I just thought, well, that again, hopefully that inspired people to make the donation.
How or why did it become a book and not just reside in zeros and ones on a website?
Well, the previous project I mentioned, Artisans, that was like 2014 and 15. I ended up doing a book of that. Can't remember what inspired me to do that. That was I have a fairly obscure medical condition, and the charity related to that is always like keen for fundraising. So back then, I did that project to support them. Okay. And again, I think back then I wasn't confident to just do a book. Again, back then, Twitter was quite friendly. I had quite a nice little group of people on there that we would all chat amongst themselves. I mentioned the idea on there one day, and they were like, "Yeah, well, that sounds good. Go for it." So I did, and that raised, I think it was about £2,000, I think, for that charity. So that was nice to do. I mean, it won't be 10 years to the next one. I'll promise that. But yeah, so that gave me the inspiration back then. And I think I just don't have the confidence to say, "Here's my work, please buy it." But I think if I can raise a bit of money for charity at the same time, I think it. Terrible imposter syndrome.
There's a sort of a different purposing behind it, isn't it? Which makes a difference. I'm intrigued because you've got a lot of experience of doing this now. A couple of 100 people down and working every single day, almost getting pictures, means that you're probably able to read whether somebody's open to being photographed or not. Or is it not quite as simple as that?
I think it has become easier. But on one occasion in particular, there was a guy who was dressed. I mean, he couldn't have been more flamboyantly dressed if he tried. And I strolled up to him. I think I was actually feeling almost a little bit cocky. I'm thinking, well, this is a dead cert, Walked up, and he's almost like bowed his head and, oh no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't possibly do that. I was like, oh, okay then. But anyway, we carried on having a bit of a chat, and it was a classic situation, like you said. After a little bit of a chat, he eventually said, "Okay, all right, one photo. You can have one photo." And then as soon as I raised the camera to my eye, he basically just started posing. He gave me about 6 different poses, and he was just away. So I could have given up on that quite quickly and gone, "Oh, okay, no problem," and walked off. But I just thought, well, carry on having the chat anyway. And then all of a sudden he was just like, "Oh yeah, well, you can just do one," But just a bit shy, I guess, despite his outward appearance. And another guy who had like full facial tattoos. There wasn't a bit of his face, head. Yeah. He had shaved head as well, neck, everything tattooed. And again, I thought, well, this is a dead cert. And he was not having any of it at all. Oh. He was like super shy. So, no, not today, thank you, and walked off. Yeah. And that was probably the most. And again, it wasn't rude. It was just, but that's the closest I got to like a sort of a fairly abrupt no, which just surprised me because I just thought how can you not draw attention to yourself when you've got literally every aspect of your face is completely covered in tattoos?
Well, you are a picture. You are.
You're a walking portrait target. Or maybe he gets it so often he's just sick of it. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be.
Could be that. I don't know.
I'm intrigued about how the project has changed the way that you walk through the world. And I mean, I know that sounds terribly dramatic, Lovey, but I do mean that, because it must change how you are when you walk out the door, Tim. I mean, Tim possibly, I'm imagining, can't walk out of a door without a camera, thinking he might not meet somebody.
Yeah, because I think on the one occasion I was out and about I hadn't bothered taking the camera with me.
Yeah, you'll kick yourself when you find something really good.
There was an amazing prospect, and I actually gave the guy my little card and just said, "Can you please contact me, because I've got to get this shot." Kicking myself that I didn't have it.
Oh, so you always take a card with you?
Yeah, I've always got some cards printed. Okay. I always give them a card just so they've got, Instagram, website, whatever. Most of the people that are on Instagram do then connect, and I tag them in. But I always give them my details, because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to just walk up and say, "Oh, can I take a picture?" and then walk off. It's not just like a quick encounter. If you're going to do that, you might as well just do it with a zoom lens from 50 foot away. I've always had a card with me with the details on, and obviously now I can actually get a copy of the book out of the bag and show them what I've been doing. So that helps quite a bit as well.
Well, it seems to me that people place a reasonable amount of trust in you, because they're often exchanging quite private details about themselves, and they're talking about their lives and what they've done, what they've seen, what they've been through. Yeah, I mean,
I do say to them that I literally only use their name, apart from the occasional I might put some more details on them on Instagram or whatever. And I'm aware that some photographers they will put a hell of a lot of text with it, and that's fine as well. Obviously, a lot of them are now filming the encounters, and it's massive on Instagram and stuff. And again, I've got no intention to do that. I would rather just keep a few notes of myself and as to who they were. But as far as I'm concerned, if I've got their name, then it's legit. Yeah. It will be a portrait and it will go on the site. But it is, because I've got a friend actually he's driven a black cab in London for 30 plus years, but he's also a very keen photographer. And he's now started doing portraits because he's got kind of like a captive audience. He gets chatting to them anyway, and he turns around, takes the portraits.
Oh, it reminds me of Joseph Rodriguez that did that in New York cabs in the 80s.
Oh, okay, I think I've heard of that. Yeah. So he's been doing that for the past year or so.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and he's obviously being in London, he's actually got quite a few celebrities as well now. So he's he's beating me on the celeb counter, because I've only got one celebrity in my project and he's got about 50. So
who's the celeb?
It's just in the book actually. It's a German comedian called Henning Wehn.
Oh yes, of course, Henning Wehn. Yeah.
He's been on TV quite a lot. Well, he lives in St Leonard's, you see, so he's often out and about, and I'd never had the balls basically to approach him, because somebody told him that he didn't do any of this. He was quite private, and I thought, well, I'll just leave him alone. Yeah. And then it happened to be that another photographer that I know down here, all of a sudden on his Instagram one day, he's posted these like properly shot studio portraits of Henning.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, hang on a minute. So got in touch with this other photographer, Toby, and said, well, how did that happen? He said, well, I just got in touch with him and asked. And he said, yes. And I went, right then. So I got in touch. And I have to say, Henning has been amazing. He came along to the book launch.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's been so supportive. He actually has a connection to the hospice. He actually lost somebody there. And again, he'd seen how brilliant they were. And he was so keen to support the project. And I spent about half an hour, 40 minutes with him that afternoon, got some shots, and then he came along to the launch as well. He even brought one of his mates with him, and they both bought a book. So it was win-win all round, really.
And he's in the first volume, is he?
Yeah, he's
where is he? I'm trying to find him.
Page 5.
Page 5. Hold on, because he is a familiar face.
You've got Molly on page 3.
Oh, there he is. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
When I saw him in front of the bookshop, I thought, what a striking guy. I love his shirt.
It's one hell of a shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't think to look at his name, and then I that would have made sense. I would have joined the dots with that particular one.
No, lovely guy, really supportive,
How fantastic. It's amazing, isn't it? Well, what can happen when you start doing something?
Oh, it's absolutely mad, yeah. So I had this little launch event one night at the hospice itself, and invited as many people as I could get, obviously. And my son is a traditional folk musician,
right.
So I'd said, well, if you don't mind coming down, you can play some tunes in the background while the event is on.
Yeah.
And we were chatting a couple of weeks back, And I said to him, because my son's had quite a big year for various reasons. And I said, yeah, it's been a bit of a mad year, hasn't it? I said, who thought I'd be sort of chatting to Henning Vane about stuff? And he went, yeah, it was a bit mad, wasn't it? Because he obviously got to meet him as well that night. So he said, yeah, it was a bit bizarre. And because he does gigs and sometimes there'll be celebrities there.
Of course. Yeah.
We'll be swapping texts sometimes. Oh, you won't believe who I've seen this time.
Yeah.
And again, Terry, my cab driving friend, he's had some real big names in the cab recently. So that's a lovely project, actually, that he's doing.
Are you a very different person compared with the one that picked up that 5D in 2022?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I still look back on it and think that how the hell did this happen, basically. And I will, if I'm having a day or a week or something where I'm not feeling confident, I'm thinking, well, and then I just flick through the book or go through the shots on the screen and think, well, I've managed to do all that, so I must be doing something right. But yeah, so I've gained a bit of confidence in it. But like I say, going back to just approaching strangers again, which I'm desperately trying to get back into at the moment, although the weather isn't exactly helping either.
Well,
yeah. So
chilly days with lots of rain probably aren't terribly conducive.
Not
to
really, no.
But
and that's partly why I'm restarting my Artisans project as well, because I really enjoyed doing that, and there's quite a lot of craftspeople down here. So, and that's mostly shooting indoors as well. So the weather won't interfere too much with that one.
It's a super book. I am going to ask you a question that you may have heard asked on this show before, which I ask at the end of interviews. What's Tim? What's your why? What makes you do this? What is it about photography? What is it about people? What is it that drives you?
Well, I think I've become mildly obsessed with just the whole thing about strangers, because there's amazing podcasts about chatting to strangers. There's things on YouTube where people just walk up to strangers for a chat, and a lot of those aren't photography related at all. But you get amazing stories from people, and you think, well, everybody has got their own story. Whether it might not seem particularly interesting to them, it might be really interesting to somebody else. So I do listen to a lot of those things and watch a lot of those things, and obviously my project is similar. And yeah, I just ended up being quite fascinated about the stories that everybody's got inside them. Because I wouldn't say I've lived a particularly dramatic or exciting life, but we've all still got stories to tell. So and it's just that human connection thing as well. I was in a job where you might meet somebody new whenever somebody started or left or something, but by and large, I realised that it was quite a long time before I'd actually sort of met anybody particularly new in my life or made new friends or something like that. And it's been a great way to just meet new people, whether it might be 10 minutes, you never see them again, or the longest encounter I had, I strolled up to this lady called Wendy, who's in the book, purely because she had quite a striking bike that she was just stopped to have a drink. I got chatting to her. I said, I like your bike. So we sat down and got chatting. I think that was an hour and 3/4 we chatted for, before we eventually remembered that I was supposed to be taking a portrait of her. And she's become an amazing friend. So I think I've just seen that human connection can be very valuable. And like you say, you might stroll up to somebody and they might not have spoken to anybody for days, And I get that some days, and the weather's bad. I might not go out. I might not leave the house for 2 or 3 days. And you think, I haven't even spoken to anybody, So it's just that human connection, I think, which is just very important. And having gone through COVID as well, of course, there was the whole isolation thing there. I think that just sort of emphasised how important it was to just try and keep connected with people, and not just online, in the flesh, so to speak. So yeah, I think that's probably my why, and long term, because I enjoy it.
And my sincere thanks. Thank you, Tim. Tim Allen, who's going to return, actually, in the extra mile. We get a little more, dare I say, standby, nosebleed on the way, technical, Neil, you. Yeah, why not? A few more of the hows and the whys about the projects and behind-the-scenes questions. And I have some thoughts about pictures from the past. The Extra Mile is our Patreon channel where you can help support the show. So if you'd like to hear a little more of the photo walk each week and help keep us walking, because that's what the Extra Mile community does, then go to the website, all the W's, photowalk.show. Then in the top right-hand corner, I just had some water go down my neck. Oh, that was nice. Nice drip from the tree. Yeah, go to the top right-hand corner and you'll find Support the Show. Click on there and you'll be able to join our Patreon group. For the price of, I don't know, a medium cup of fancy coffee that you get from whatever your coffee store is, you can be supporting this show to be walking week after week after week. All right, before the PS, the play-out song today. The play-out song is our song just to spend a few more moments walking together and think about what's been said on the show today and shared. And there's been plenty of that. But before I play the play-out song, and before the PS, the postscript, which is coming in a moment, let me thank a few who smooth this voyage. I must think of a new ending for that, mustn't I? Smooth the voyage, Neil. Did you say that last week? I did, and the week before. But they do. Neil Ford, he smooths the voyage. Without him, IT would be, under my leadership, would be in a hell of a mess. Anything that whirs or flashes or sends up error messages, Neil's in charge. He steams in and says, this is what you need to know or what you need to do. So thank you, Neil. Also to Kelvin Brown, who's at the helm of the Flickr group. Michael Brennan, who compiles the music of the show onto a Spotify playlist. So if you like what you hear, click on that and you can hear pretty much everything that's played on the show. To Andrea Gilpin, who's in charge of Instagram, and Kelly Mitchell, who does the same for Facebook. So, musically, something a little different in a moment. Bit of a haunting song, I think, called Until We're Gone by Rowie Spigler. It's an amazing song. It is very haunting. I found this the other day. I was walking a path further up the river and I had this playing in my ears as I was stooped down making some reflection pictures. Some of my sketchbook pictures, reflections, I mean, as in reflections in the water. So that's going to be the play-out song today. Write a postscript for the show. I am going to choose something that's all about preserving time, because that's been something of a sub-theme today, hasn't it? What with photographing people, holding their legacy in the lens of your camera. Studs Terkel is a name that's been mentioned a few times on this show over the past few years. He is or was an American oral historian who spent his life recording ordinary people with a tape recorder. He went all over the country with this tape recorder, and they weren't necessarily always grand places he recorded in. I mean, you get kitchens, for example. Anyway, I want to use this as a PS because of what he said about recording history, be that sound or pictures, really. In his case, it's sound. But I think this is very pertinent. People, he said, are not statistics. They're stories.
The Photo Walk is a Loading Zone production.